Hey, it's Crystal from East Charleston, and I'm here today to answer some questions about Saltnik. Now, I have heard some crazy questions about Saltnik, like, is it table salt? Is it gonna raise my cholesterol? Is it bath salt? Am I gonna vape and wanna eat my neighbor's face? No, they're not bath salts. They're not table salts. They're actually not salt at all. Nic salt still comes from the tobacco leaf. It is just extracted differently than your everyday freebase nicotine that you're already used to seeing. The reason why they call it salt nic is because nicotine in its purest form on the tobacco leaf has a very similar chemical breakdown to salt, which is why they call it salt nic. Now again, it comes from tobacco leaf, it's just extracted differently from freebase nicotine. Now, the way freebase nicotine is extracted, which I'm not going to break it all down, but it does have a higher pH content, which makes freebase nicotine a lot harsher to vape. It's very heavy on the throat and the chest, and your body doesn't soak it up as quickly. Now, salt nic, because it's a more pure nicotine and because of the way it's extracted, it has a lower pH content, which makes it very smooth on the throat, very light on the chest. It's a lot easier to vape, so you can get the satisfaction you need in a couple of hits versus vaping a lower nicotine level and just vaping it back to back to back to back. So one of the benefits from salt nic is getting a more satisfying hit, vaping less, therefore saving some juice, some coils, battery life, and of course money. So that's of course one of the benefits of salt nic. Now, salt nic is just another advance in vaping to help customize your vaping experience. It's not for everyone. Now, I have seen salt nics come out in lower nicotine levels like a 3 or a 6, which you can use in your sub-ohm. However, most salt nic lines are, again, made to mimic a cigarette. They're made to be used in a lower wattage device, like your Ciga-like devices, more like Juul, your pod devices, or like the Sorin Drop, which we carry. I love this guy because it's nice and small. And again, you don't need a large battery or a huge device to carry around. With salt nic, it's meant for a couple of satisfying hits for you to put it down. So again, you need a low wattage device, high ohms, more resistance, more like a Ciga-like device. Now, I have tried it in regular Cardos. I've tried them in BDC tanks. And if you get the right salt nic flavor, like Salt Bae, for example, is one of my favorite salt nic lines. It is nice and smooth, nice and flavorful. And again, it hits like a cigarette, gives you that quick nic buzz, and you're good to go. You don't need to keep vaping. Now, your freebase nicotine, like I said, for me, when I transitioned into vaping, was a lot harsher on my throat, a lot heavier on my chest, which made the transition more difficult. So I definitely recommend your salt nics with the high nicotine levels and lower wattage devices for somebody trying to transition into vaping or somebody that's just trying to mimic a cigarette. I don't recommend you put a 50 milligram in your sub-ohm device. Please don't do that. You'll probably puke. Again, it is high nicotine for the most part, so you want them in low wattage devices. You want to hit it like a cigarette. It's not meant to be used all day long like your sub-ohm devices that are used more for flavor and cloud. So hopefully I answered most of your questions about salt nic. It is not salt, not made out of salt at all. Still comes from the tobacco leaf, just extracted differently. And again, it's another advancement in vaping to just help the everyday vapor customize their vaping experience. So if you're interested in having a device that'll mimic a cigarette very closely, both hit-wise and that nic buzz fairly quickly, then I definitely recommend trying a nic salt device and some nic salt flavors. However, if you're more of a trickster and you just like the flavor and the cloud, then I recommend sticking with lower nicotine levels, which usually just come with freebase nicotine. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, but hopefully I've answered your questions today.